today I wanted to, just go over a quick video. I happened to be recommended a video by a dude named JP, apparently. Looking at his videos, I've noticed that, oh, sorry, my cat is screaming. Looking at his videos, I noticed I have apparently seen one before. Let me share with you guys. Desktop left. Here we go. So this is Awaken with JP. Apparently I've seen this one. Socialist Media, The New Rules. I never really heard of this guy before that. This was just a very sarcastic video in which he was kind of suggesting that Facebook and Twitter and I guess Instagram are socialists or something. I didn't really get the video. I didn't think it was very good. Anyway, today I got a recommendation for A Communist Christmas, a video by this Awaken with JP. And I watched it. I kind of just skipped around. As you can see, I didn't even watch the whole thing. But it's very interesting, this guy. I don't know if all of his videos are like this, but this video in particular is super, super interesting. Sorry, now you can actually see it, this one. And it's interesting not because of the content, but because the way that he delivers his content is very typical of an issue that I think about sometimes. I mentioned it before on the video that I did about, I think his name is Jesse Waters, the Fox idiot who was basically talking crap about China and Chinese people for having the coronavirus affecting them. Is your cat in heat? No, although I think she learned this meowing from when she was in heat when we first got her. She was screaming and screaming all night. And I think now she's realized that, this is how you get attention. You just scream and scream. Murloc Knight, thank you. Thank you very much. So in this video about Jesse Waters, I talked a little bit about something called toxic Americanism, which is something that is kind of, it's everywhere, but I've seen it mostly in America. And what it is people, will have this extreme confidence about what they're saying, especially when what they're saying is potentially dangerous or hateful or controversial. And when you dig into how they got to that understanding or that claim, they have almost no knowledge at all. So it's this very weird ultra confidence built on nothing. Almost like the amount of confidence that they have in what they are saying, in their mind, makes up for the lack of evidence or lack of perspective. Now, I don't think people should be expected to do a bunch of research every time they talk about something, but it is interesting when I go to, for example, the United States, and so many people tell me about China, but they've never been to China and they don't know any Chinese people, and they're just getting their news from the internet or whatever, and then they try to correct me and tell me what they know about this country, that type of thing. Now, you can see it with Jesse Waters when he does this this basic attack on China and that kind of thing. But it's typified in a video like Awaken with JP has done. This is actually the pinnacle of it, because while people like Jesse Waters are making these really bizarre claims like, China can't feed its people and that's why they're all eating bats and causing the coronavirus, etc., at least he's saying something. Because Awaken with JP, as we'll see, doesn't even say anything. He just does something that's very, very sneaky and tricky. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at this video. Sorry about my cat. All right. Let me know if the volume's okay. So it says includes paid promotion. He'll start talking about some crap later. So let me know how the audio is. I will try to look.
Hi there, obedient person. This year for the holidays, you'll get to enjoy some special restrictions to help you replace the Christmas spirit with the spirit of communism. It's beginning to look a lot like communism.
Okay, so he's being sarcastic. He's obviously a funny guy. And it's already a little bit weird because what does anything about restrictions have to do with communism? But I guess he's going to tell us.
Everywhere you go. This Christmas, it's not that you can't enjoy your family. It's just that you get to enjoy your family in different ways. The ways that we tell you you can enjoy your own family. I'm not coming home this year, Mom. I've been ordered to stay at home. I probably won't see you before you die. Merry Christmas. That felt good. It's enjoyable to do my part. Your year.
Okay, so he's clearly being sarcastic about the restrictions for COVID. And, he's doing a little skit. But you'll notice he hasn't actually said anything. He hasn't said that the restrictions are wrong. He hasn't said what else should be done. He's just kind of doing this funny way to portray it. But as this goes on, it'll get a little bit more clear of why I think that this is a very, very good video to study.
Of dedicated obedience to tyrannical governors is helping replace the normal joy of the holiday spirit with the increased joy of lockdown-related blessings, like increased depression, suicides, child abuse, domestic abuse, overdoses, unemployment, bankruptcies, and starvation.
So he just said that we're all happy to buckle under these tyrannical governors and contribute to all those things. For some reason, there was another thing that he didn't mention that could spread, other than depression and all this other stuff. It's, what the hell is it called? Oh yeah, COVID-19. He didn't mention that one. Now, tyrannical governors, that's quite an interesting way to put it. Because America is not a democracy. It's a, democratic republic, basically. And the way that it's set up is that these different provinces are, in fact, states. They're, initially they weren't exactly part of one country. 1776 was not the beginning of the United States. It was the beginning of the colonies becoming independent from Britain. It wasn't until, I think it's 1781, that they actually formed together as a union. And the point is, the states have some degree of autonomy, but you still vote for your governors. So this whole idea that, the governor is tyrannical, even though you voted for him, is kind of a mark against this democratic system. Maybe not all democracy, but certainly the one that we have. So far, nothing he said has anything to do with communism. But let's carry on.
You should be proud of your obedience because it helped you contribute to these things. Warms my heart. Furthermore, this year the holidays are just going to be different. Instead of getting together with your friends and family in person and risking the transmission of joy, love, and connection,
and COVID-19,
you are to practice socialism distancing.
Okay, this is where it starts to get interesting. Instead of being together with your family in person, you're going to practice socialism distancing. Which is actually quite interesting because I live in a socialist country. And here, for Christmas, you can actually go in person to see your friends and family. You understand what I just said? The socialist countries in the world, for the most part, you can go in person to be with your friends and family for Christmas. I hope that's very clear. He's pretending like the reason or, the mechanism that you can't be with your friends and family in America has something to do with socialism, when in fact, in socialist countries, you can be with your friends and family, and in America, you can't.
This season to have unconstitutional authoritarian rules dictate what you can do. Would you like to be told you can't leave your own home? Told what you can and cannot do in your own home? And told that you can't celebrate Christmas? Well, this year, You are being told these things.
Dubious. I mean, you're not being told that you can't celebrate Christmas. You are being told that, depending on your state, there's restrictions on how many people you can risk killing. So, I mean, is that authoritarian? Yes, it is. Is it wrong? Well, I don't know. It is allowed within the system that we've built, and this really deepens and broadens the problem with this type of sarcastic video that's built on the assumption that everyone else watching it has made the same assumptions as the person creating it. There's no facts or statements or claims in it. He just already knows that the people watching it will already feel as he does. And so they can all just share in this big feeling about things without actually having to really think about it. Because if you take a bunch of people and they vote on a government, and then that government is run the way that they voted for it to be, and then they don't like the result of that, for example, they're made to stay home during a pandemic, it's a little weird to criticize the government for that, when in fact that's the government as it was created. Somebody with a unreadable name says, is this live or pre-recorded? It is pre-recorded. I have not just read your comment. So let's continue with this guy, who, by the way, hasn't said a single word about communism.
And you can do all your holiday shopping nationally with Amazon, as all local businesses have been exterminated. But in reality, you probably don't have any more money left to tithe to Amazon, as we've helped you achieve poverty/social equality. So
that part's a little bit, strikes a chord with me, which is that the big corporations, they don't really care about any kind of shutdown, whereas the small mom and pop stores, if there are any left in America, are suffering the most. So people have been waiting for their, what was it, $1,200 check or $600 check or whatever it is now, which I guess is supposed to help with rent. But he's right in that the sort of little guys are just going to suffer from this. Now, there's more to say about this than just, wow, that's communist fault somehow. For example, now I actually don't get those checks because I don't qualify for any of them, but I don't need them. But some people do need those, and they do have small businesses. But the thing is, one of the most striking aspects of American business, if you go there, is that there are almost no small businesses left. They're all pretty much replaced by huge chains and corporations, due in part to this push for this open market capitalism and very little amount of protections for the small guys, because the small guys don't make the big money. Anyway, that's a more complicated subject, but I doubt that people who, I guess he's on the right, I doubt that they're doing much to actually stop these major corporations from expanding, other than just sort of complaining about it when they get censored on these tech platforms. So there's a lot more to say. Anyway, so far, again, none of this has anything to do with workers' parties, workers' parties owning the means of labor, with socialism, with revolution, with communism. Like, what is he even talking about? So far, all I've heard is he doesn't like several aspects of the democratic system of America.
instead of exchanging gifts, exchange glances of hunger pains with your loved ones, because you don't have money to buy food either. Ooh, looks like you'll need more government because of what the government did to you, so you can have some government handouts.
So yeah, more government because the government did something to you. He's being very vague here. This is a common right-wing scare tactic, I guess you could say. But in the old days, the people who really, really wanted more government were the people on the right. They really want this huge, huge military and, to go out and push our ideology out on the world. And they still do that, especially the neocons. But nowadays, the left has also succumb to this very far right idea. And, you know, even today I was looking at an NPR article called something like, why we need to put pressure on this country and that country. And like, it's like, this is like, I thought NPR is supposed to be left wing. Anyway, so it's very interesting to see somebody who I think he's on the right complain about government size when our military budget is the size of several other governments combined. So, you know, I agree. Let's cut back on the military, especially when it comes to expansionism and adventurism in other countries, like, you know, especially in Asia and the Middle East.
Sure to keep voting communism/blue in the next election.
Communism/blue. If you've watched any of the communist content creators, one of the things that they really hate is the blue or Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party, I mean, they have many reasons for hating them. I don't want to say why they do. That's up to them. But they don't really get along. If you're on the right, you can conflate these two together if you want to, but they're actually quite different. And so far, again, nothing he said has anything at all to do with communism. And I'm going to get into why he said it this way in a little bit, but let's carry on.
So we can continue protecting you from what we're doing to you. In exchange for your vote, we'll let you think your vote counts. Hey kids, you're in luck because the world's most trusted doctor has personally given Santa the shot. So if you don't get any presents, it's either because Santa's having an adverse reaction or it's because your parents were obedient enough to protect your family from income this year.
So this is an interesting little dog whistle, I guess you could say. If you guys are familiar with this anti-vaxxers movement, these are people who think that vaccinations essentially do more harm than good. Usually it has to do with some kind of weird conspiracy involving aliens and whatever. And they suffer from essentially a very similar issue to a lot of the homeopathy concepts of basically a tiny microscopic amount of something in your body being of a similar amount of effect as a larger amount in your body. Now, they come to different conclusions about that, but anyway, there's this anti-vaxxers concept, and this guy isn't really talking about anti-vaxxing, but he is emphasizing this concept of like, well, if you get that vaccination, you could have an allergic reaction, you could have a negative reaction, which is absolutely true. Every single surgery, every single medical procedure, every drug, every single thing that you do at all in life, there are chances of negative reactions, negative consequences. The question really is balancing the two and following the advice of your, you know, medically trained doctor, right? That's pretty standard stuff. You don't have to go along with science. You don't have to. But if you're going to go against it, you should have some kind of argument. And so far, all I've heard is he is smugly agreeing with those people who agree with him without anyone ever saying why they all think this.
Look at this lovely holiday photo of my family and I enjoying the communism holiday.
Again, here in a communist country, this is not at all what we are doing. So I don't know why you keep calling this a communist Christmas. That looks to me like a capitalist Christmas. Or what am I missing? I mean...
Put a mask on that kid now. Now that's better than how it used to be, isn't it? AOC's making a blacklist and she's checking it twice. Wouldn't it be a grand holiday treat if she can get all Trump supporters thrown in prison/concentration camps?
I mean, I don't even want to comment on this. This just seems ridiculous.
That way our democracy would be completely protected from freedom.
The interesting thing about this guy that sometimes makes me wonder if he's actually on the right is because it seems like even he seems to realize that the system that we have in America isn't exactly what people think it is. It isn't actually democracy, at least not in the way that people think that it is. You don't really have the power of vote, at least not in the way that average people tend to think that you do, etc., etc. So, in that respect, at least I can appreciate him for that. But again, 3 minutes into this thing, zero to do with communist or socialism, only to do with capitalism, and yet somehow this narrative is not about capitalism, it's about communism.
Number of years now, we've made it socially illegal for you to say Merry Christmas. We've exchanged it with Happy Holidays.
So this is kind of a stale, old complaint from the right now, but basically that you can't say Merry Christmas, and now everybody's got to say, Happy Holidays. It's not exactly as strict as they say. They tend to do that on the news, for example, corporate environments. I mean, if you're a person and you say Merry Christmas, in my experience, no one cares. I mean, Merry Christmas. That's the holiday that is today/yesterday in China. So I think this is just a sort of weird call to Christian people to be, scared of being banned. Personally, I don't really care what Christians do, but it would be nice if a lot of the Christians in America would at least admit the fact that their religion shouldn't be so tied in with the government and should support a separation of it from the state. I really wish that the motivations of America weren't so deeply tied with a really weird, death cult like Christianity.
And you went with it. Thank you for helping our efforts to erase religion, because you can't have communism with freedom of religion. We wouldn't want people following the Lord's guidance over our guidance.
So, suggesting that people should say Happy Holidays rather than Merry Christmas is specifically going in the direction that he's complaining that it isn't. The more that you say Happy Holidays and the less that you say Merry Christmas, the more multi-religions that you support, the more religions that you are promoting and agreeing with. If somebody is a non-believer in the Judeo-Christian God and they have another holiday around that time and you say Happy Holidays, you're including them and Christianity. That goes along with freedom of religion. Whereas if you just say Merry Christmas, you're actually, in a very small way, granted, you're actually excluding those other religions. So while he's making it seem like saying Happy Holidays is some kind of attack on freedom of religion, in fact, continuing to only ever talk about one religion in America because it's had the strong connections for such a long time is closer to what he's talking about.
Yeah, and all churches are closed for the foreseeable future. I love a good coincidence.
I don't think that churches are closed. I think that you can't get in, have large gatherings of people within a certain distance. So, if, for example, if you had an online program of prayer, I don't think that that's going to be closed down, do you? So does that sound like an attack on religion or an attack on gatherings of people? I mean, I'm sure he already knows this, but again, he hasn't actually said anything. Have you noticed that? Not one claim in this entire video.
And then the three wise men greeted baby Jesus.
I don't think we need to hear any more about that guy. But would you like to hear more about how your government is great and protects you? Well, they've scared you, so you're scared, and now they're protecting you from what they told you to be scared of. And that makes them great and trustworthy.
This is a really weird narrative because we know for a fact now that there were millions of cases of COVID 1 year ago in America. But they didn't say anything to the public for months. So, you might even say the truth is the opposite of what this guy's not claiming. He's kind of making it seem like the government is trying desperately to make you scared. Whereas, actually, it's more like this was going on for months and they didn't say anything and kept denying it and denying it and denying it until eventually admitting it. So, again, I don't know what he's talking about.
And it's communism.
Wait, communism? But I thought all these restrictions were about a virus.
Sure they are.
What? Sorry. What does any of this have to do with communism? What is he talking about?
Year, don't leave your home, don't gather, wear a mask, and there will be no dancing and no singing because it's not safe. However, what is allowed is fear, obedience, isolation, poverty, and therefore a growing dependency on your government.
Most of the poverty, I think, is probably coming from, I mean, I don't want to say too specifically, but I would assume or guess that a lot of it's coming from policies that are very hard to change due to people on the right, depending on the type of poverty. But I'm not an expert in that, so I won't say specifically. And it's just interesting, again, that the only thing that he seems to not like so far is authoritarianism, and when the government that he has voted for goes against what he wants it to do. And again, nothing to do with socialism or communism.
Because that all seems safe. And it would also be great if you could pretend that this year's restrictions are just going to be for this year. Because, of course, we'll be glad to hand you your freedoms back after we've taken them. So for the...
Isn't that an interesting thing he just said? Didn't say. Again, he's not really saying anything, but isn't that interesting what he just didn't say? Which is like, oh, I'm sure they'll just give it back to us, wink, wink. As if this is going to be the beginning of a total lockdown of America where everyone always has to wear masks and no one can celebrate anything. I mean, I don't even know what the hell he's talking about.
Holidays, please keep being obedient and handing us your freedoms. You're doing a great job of doing your part.
Yes, if you are giving your freedoms over temporarily to not kill your friends and family with a disease, while the disease calms down and then everyone can get back to work, you are doing a good job. Thanks.
Dear Supreme Leaders, we wish you a very Merry Communist Christmas.
Okay. I don't see any communists on here. Do you guys see any communists on here? What the hell is he talking about?
I like the taste of communism.
That's it. That's the video. And the whole rest of this is an advertisement for some magnesium. Which is interesting because Scientology also promotes magnesium. So that whole video, which is 5 minutes long, he didn't make any claims about anything. He didn't argue with anything. He didn't say anything was right or wrong. He just didn't say anything. He just made this joke about how everyone knows that this is just the truth of things, which is very interesting because most of what he didn't say were lies. And this is a really good way to study the way that you can communicate in the United States and the way that people think about things. He's kind of taking it, either he doesn't know this himself, or he's taking advantage of the fact that most people who don't think about politics very often, they think of communism as exactly the same thing as authoritarianism, which means that any time that the government does something that seems like it's removing rights, people like this guy can just say, communism, which is totally inaccurate. So he basically preys on the ignorance of people and conflates all these things together, either intentionally or accidentally. But he doesn't say them with confidence. He's so confident that he doesn't even have to say them. He just jokes about how obvious they are. And to me, this is just a very, very clear example of what I'm talking about when I say that there's not a whole lot that American citizens can learn from China right now. I think that there needs to be some correction of how we even think about these topics in the first place, because it's clear, it should be clear from watching that video, that this guy is either totally phony, as James Bond just said in the chat, or he's a victim of the same toxic Americanism. But the fact is, literally nothing in here at all, nothing had anything to do with communism or socialism, and everything had to do with the system that we have in America. And yet, somehow, the issues with the American system become the fault of communism, which really in this video just means authoritarianism, but it's authoritarianism on the arguably right-wing government that we have in America. Anyway, that's all I had to say about that video. Just another classic example, the type of stuff that I see on YouTube, and I go, what the hell is this guy talking about? This is ridiculous. And he's huge, by the way. It's only been 3 days, and he's got 900,000 views on this thing. He's got 1.5 million subscribers on YouTube. Very big. So there's so many people that watch this type of video, and this is like just pure reinforcing of your views. You learn nothing at all from this video. You just come there, you come to this video. If you already think these things, then you just feel like not only does he also get it, all of his subscribers, they get it too. Like, we just get it. We know what communism is. It's the government saying, hey, maybe we should lock down because more and more people are dying. Communist. Why was Karl Marx envisioning a time without a pandemic? How dare he? So, just a little stupid Christmas video that I got recommended.